Hello, welcome back everyone, and we are down to the last two sessions for today, and we're glad to have you with us. On stage, we have Conrad and Nick from SAP, and they are here to talk to us about using CDS-Oyster to create custom business logic. Please join me in welcoming them to the stage.
So, yeah, hello, my name is Nick, that's Conrad. I'm one of the architects in the CAP team, and we have built a code execution sandbox. Last year we also presented in alpha. We are now in beta. We expect to be shipping the first version in Q3. It's called CDS-Oyster, for the small pearl that you can hide inside the shell. It's a code execution sandbox, which is very secure, because if you run a multi-tenant SaaS application and you want to execute customer code, you cannot trust anything. So in the past, you could extend CAP with a lot of things, which were all of declarative nature. Like you could extend it with new entities, new attributes, new UI annotations, add buttons. But what is a button worth if you can't put an action behind that button? So you need something to still create code and deploy code. So you can download CDS-Oyster in version 0.5 today. So it's available. You can go there, play around with it, test it out. The README should have a good example of getting started. And it is completely integrated into the CAP workflow. So it uses CAP extensibility, it uses CAP MTX, everything is seamless. And for the extension developer, they can write JavaScript code and it looks like a normal CAP event handlers. They are not. They run inside WebAssembly, completely isolated in a separate process, and we just make it look like CAP, behave like CAP. It's very secure, and it allows application developers to open up an application for extension points. In addition, what Conrad is mainly showing today also is a developer experience. So a reuse component, it's Project Capricorn, so internal project name, to manage the application lifecycle or the extension lifecycle, to not have developers create passcodes on BTP, to not go through CDS push and pull and command line tools. You have a UI, you can upload your extensions, you can register them, you can activate them, you can deactivate them. So that is the seamless experience for developers. You'll see that in the demo. The scenario reminds everybody who is a bit older than that bodies in ABAP fulfill the same thing, basically. So we have an X-Travels application, but X-Travels application has normal custom code in the application running, and at some point in time, we stop and fire a no-op custom event handler, and the extension developer can implement that handler, upload the code to the application running in the cloud for that specific tenant and have it execute for the tenant. Enough slides. We are going to the demo.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. So let's see all of this in action. So you can leave the slides and yeah, are of course being logged out. So yeah, here you can see the X-Travels application or the launchpad for it that you have probably seen already quite a few times today. And in addition to the Process Travels application itself, also what we have is the Capricorn provided Managed Extension Points application. So first, just to recap in case you missed it, in the X-Travels application, after the busy dialog is gone, you can see all kinds of travel entries, and therein you can then provide the X-Flights provided flight bookings, and you can accept the bookings or the travels and so on and so on. And now we have in this subscription of this multi-tenant app a special requirement. And this special requirement is that you can see here that the customers, they all have like a status. And only the customers that have the gold status should be allowed to book like pretty expensive flights, so which cost more than $4,000. And this is, of course, not like standard functionality, and therefore something that we want to do with extensibility. And to be able to do that, we can now head back to the Launchpad and check out the Manage Extension Points application to first get an idea about which extension points in the first place exist, which are like provided by the application provider. And I, as the consumer, can now implement. And we can see two options here, so the booking created and the validate travel extension points. And I think for our use case, the second one, the validate travel extension point, is actually a good fit. So yeah, if we navigate to it, we can see a new screen, and as Nick pointed out, the starting point for us will be like an extension project template. So really like a starting point provided by the X-Travel developers we can use to really have like a good development experience based on the CAP business logic extensibility. So yeah, we can click on it and we'll get navigated in this case to GitHub. So we can see here like some kind of project, and this is now something that we can clone and get started with. So for the demo, of course, I have done this already. So we have this project now locally. And just to give you like a broad overview about what we have available, as if you're familiar with the existing extensibility in CAP, we have like a .base directory, which contains the base model, which we can use for the extensibility. So for example, here we can also see this validate travel extension point we want to implement as CAP action modeled. And also for the convenience for us developers, in the test directory, we have all kinds of additional content. So one thing to start with is, of course, some sample data, because that makes it much easier to test some logic in the end for us, right? Also what we have are, for example, some sample HTTP requests that we can then also use to call the APIs that trigger the extension point. And of course, to make it really nice, we even have like a small mini X-Travels Fiori app, so that we can really test it in the UI. And yeah, with this, I think we can get started. So what we can do now is we can open up a terminal and just run, as with any CAP project, we can run CDS watch. And this will then run this extension project locally. And we can now head into the browser, click on the web app. So I think you have all seen this once in your life. And yeah, now we have our locally running X-Travel application. So now the question is, of course, how can we proceed with the actual implementation of the extension point? And for this, we can now go back and open actually another terminal. And yeah, there also with the CAP tooling, we have a convenient way to add the handler. So I did an NPM script here, but you can see under the hood, it is essentially doing a CDS-Add extension handler for this validate travel extension point that we want to implement. And now if we open up the SRV directory, there we have a travel extension service directory, and therein we have this on validate travel JS file that we now can use to implement it. And you can also see here, we have like a function here that we can implement. We get some kind of request object inside. And also we have the full CDS typer support here. So even though we have the .base model, the base model available here, we actually don't need to read the base model. So we can simply use the IDE support. So if we click rec and then press dot, then we can see, for example, we have generally the CAP API that we can use for our convenience. And also inside of the data, we really have the exact data. So for example, we have the travel here, and we have our bookings here, and so on and so on. We can do all of that. And also, we are not restricted to work with what we get passed via the request object here, but also we can use the CAP query language to, for example, obtain more data to work with. And here we can, for example, start with the travels entity, and then we have this dot entities, and also here we have the full type support. So for example, here, if we go down, we have the travels. And yeah, if I put this typo away, then it's fine. And as mentioned, yeah, also the query API itself, we can now do a select from and travels. And then if we do like the columns, for example, even here for the individual fields, we get the IDE support. So I think this is really helpful to efficiently develop an extension here. One thing is, of course, missing, and this is, of course, maybe we want to also really see what kind of data and which shape do we get inside beyond, let's say, the types. And one thing that is, of course, particularly helpful for that is to just use debugging. And this is also something that we can do in the local project very easily. So I can just set a breakpoint, go back to the CDS watch process. I can enter a debug, which will then activate the debugging in the running process. And then I can simply open the debugger and attach it to the running process. And yeah, we can see the debugger is attached. And if I now go back to the browser, we still have the local project running. I can just, for the simplicity, click on Edit, click on Save. It should trigger the validation. You see the busy dialog isn't going away, even though we are locally. So it's probably because of the debugger. And yeah, this is actually the case. And here you can also see we have the request object, and we can now drill down into the data. We have the travel inside, and even the bookings. So we really have the deeply nested information that we receive available and can now work with it. So now that we have done this, what we can do is we can disconnect the debugger. I think it solved its purpose. And now we can actually implement our use case, right? So I described it before. We want to have only our gold customers to be able to book an expensive flight. And because I'm lazy and in a live demo will definitely make mistakes while typing, we can make this a little bit shorter. So here we can see the now implemented proper extension, and you can see the first thing we are doing is we are checking the bookings inside of the travel that we get passed inside, and then check if any of these bookings has a flight price of more than $4,000. And if this is the case, then we can check the related customer for his status, which must be gold. And then we can also, with a regular CAP API, just reject the request to provide this error message. So yeah, now that we have this implemented, of course, we want to test this again locally. So let's get back into the browser and again go into the edit mode. We can click on create now, and then we can select this flight here. You can see it's 4.9 thousand euros. And also our customer here has the silver status. So if we click on save now, we can see, okay, we have our rejection. Apparently the extension works. Now, doing this locally is, of course, it's not yet deployed. So, but yeah, it's the first step. And now I'm, of course, very confident that it also works in the cloud. So what should possibly go wrong? And what we can do now is, if we go back to the terminal, what we can do is run an build. Yep. So under the hood, this is also, as you know from like a regular deployment, it is running a CDS build production. But as this is, of course, an extension project, the artifact that we will receive from it is this extension.tgz file. And this is then pretty much the deployable unit that we can use. And as Nick also motivated, right? Typically, if we talk about how it is today, then the deployment process now is kind of cumbersome because you need to do all the authentication shenanigans with the BTP. This is also from an operations governance, maybe not always that simple. And for that reason, we want to have like a more simple approach. And this is exactly where we have now then also our UI again. So yeah, here, this local instance of the X-Travels we can close again. I think it served its purpose, also the template. So we're again here where we started with the development journey. And here now what we can do is we can just register our extension. So here we have our gold customer benefits, and then we can simply upload the tar file that we have here. Okay, Finder doesn't like me today. So yeah, now we can click on register, and now it's in the system. And to make it then also effective, I can simply press activate, consent, and wait for 3 seconds, and then we will have it there. So yeah, there we go. I think this was pretty fast, faster than any BTP auth setup. So now what we can do is, of course, go back into the Launchpad and enter the X-Travels application once again and test if it actually also works in the cloud. So again, here, what we can do is we go into our in our travel record, enter the edit mode. Also here, we can do the same thing that we just did. We just create a new entry with a flight that is too expensive. Also again, here we still have Johnny Silver to not eligible, and we get the error here. And also to show you that this is like not static, we can now exchange Johnny Silver for Johnny Gold. So yeah, you can see it's a gold customer. And if we now click on save again, we can see the record is saved and we don't get a rejection. And yeah, that's how easy it can be to extend a CAP application with custom logic. And I think with this, I can hand it back to Nick.
Stay in the IDE, please. Can you stay in the IDE? The IDE? Can you stay in the IDE?
Yeah, of course, I can go back to the IDE. So, yeah.
So, a couple of things of note. The deployed application in the cloud is CAP Java. And we deploy JavaScript event handlers to that application. It's because they are not running as JavaScript code. They are interpreted as very secure Rust implementations inside WebAssembly. It's a separate process. It's completely detached from CDS, from CAP. It's really only getting what it needs, and it works from any Java or Node.js application. Doesn't matter. And the second thing that I wanted to show is it's not here anymore. The plumbing code for the server.js.
Yeah, we can go there. Or which
in the extension. Here. Okay, so the plumbing, as an example for the JavaScript application, is very. I need to find it. Somewhere here. Would it in the plumbing code where you call the extension point? It's too klein for me.
I can make it bigger. But let's get rid of that. That makes it easier.
Yeah, here. So basically, that's a magic sauce. It's similar to a body. We have a normal event handler in your server.js or in your CAP service whenever something happens of Node, and we have an extension service. And that extension service is the only thing that is marked from an allow list point of view to be opened up for code extensions at all. So everything else is closed. You cannot deploy code extensions for whatever the application developer controls and says no or yes. So in that case, there is an extension service, a dedicated service which has the body-like action called validate travel, and that is called explicitly. It's a no-op. Nothing happens if nothing is deployed. Application runs normally, and everything is just like always. If a customer deploys an extension or an extension code for that action, then it gets executed exactly for the tenant and for the tenant only. So everything is isolated through the same mechanisms that normal extensions in MTX work, and everything looks like CAP, but it is not CAP. So that's basically just my side remarks. Q&A. We have 10 minutes left.
1.5, I think.
Yeah.
Are there questions? Okay, I already see a question.
Thank you. So in going through this process, you also mentioned multi-tenancy, etc. And as you mentioned, there's existing extensibility functionality for multi-tenancy already available in CAP. I just wanted to understand more clearly when this new capability, Oyster, is released, how does that relate to or fit in with the existing extensibility functionality in CAP?
It just extends it. It's a CAP plugin, Just like what Daniel mentioned also in the keynote, CAP plugins are really, really cool and allow a lot of control. And what we do is we really extend MTX, and we extend the runtime for the WebAssembly, and we extend MTX for all the activation, all the plumbing, all the management of the extension code, because that extension code is not stored anywhere physically. There are no files on the file system. That extension code is never executed through JavaScript or something. It's really packaged into something of our own and executed in WebAssembly, in Rust actually. So
Add to the answer. So basically what this plugin does is it allows to run code while the existing functionality allows to add potential fields which serve generically. So, and it does the run code thing by just allowing you to send over with the extension content code, which is the JavaScript code that is then taken. An event handler is registered sort of automatically because at runtime everybody can add event handlers to a service, and so that this validate travel implementation would then run that tenant specific code that you uploaded in the WASM. Nick, all right.
For that, and thanks for that. And with that, we are out of time. We have now one more session to go at 5:30. You can come back here for runtime plugins with CAP Java. And in the meantime, please join me in thanking our speakers for this wonderful session.